Are you and your spouse or you and your partner one of those couples who never really resolves any of your conflicts? Like nothing ever gets sorted out. Sometimes you agree to disagree, sometimes you just shut it down, sometimes you just walk away, sometimes you just make up, but you've never really resolved the issue. You've never really resolved the conflict, and you keep cycling through the same conflicts and the same kinds of conflicts, and you keep stacking them. So, because nothing gets resolved, they're always there, just sort of growing like a mountain of garbage, stuff that's interrupting your relationship, that's coming between you. In this video, I want to talk to you about what's happening between the two of you and what's happening inside of you. And I want to give you one specific question that you can ask that will really help you to resolve conflict. It'll help conflict go away. So don't leave, because toward the end of this video, I'm going to share that question with you, and I'm going to share exactly how you should use the question, how you should ask the question. So let's talk about conflict, because there's no one who can be in a relationship and not have it. If you happen to be in a relationship and you are never having conflict, I would argue you're never going to have a relationship. It's just not possible. It's not human. It's not realistic for two people to meet, to be very different, because no two people are alike. You must have conflict, and you must learn how to have the conflict. The truth is, most of us have not learned how to have conflict in a way that is healthy, or that doesn't feel dangerous to us, or that doesn't just feel overwhelming. Most people have never seen it modeled, like what it means to have a conflict, to sort through it, to still love each other, to still care about each other, and we got to the root issue. Don't you want to be that kind of couple? Don't you want to be that kind of person who you resolve the conflict, you work through it? Now, Sherry and I, we've been married for 33 plus years, and we still have conflicts. We started having conflicts like you before we even got married. But we've learned over the years that we both have different ways of having conflict. So let's talk about some of the ways that people have conflict. First of all, there are some people, when conflict is happening, who become very, very uncomfortable, just very uncomfortable, almost to the point of being overwhelmed. There's some people who actually overwhelm the other person because they just get hyped. They get so energized. They get so over the top, maybe. And it's not wrong. It's just not always helpful. Neither of those ways of having conflict is necessarily helpful. So there are, let's say, three different styles that a couple can have when it comes to their conflict patterns. So we call this, yeah, we call them styles. I think that's really helpful. So there's some couples who, when they have conflict, they go like this and they go like this fast. Like, in other words, it escalates quickly, and they go from 0 to 100 just like that. Are y'all that couple? Like, you love each other, but my goodness, when you get into it, when you're, when it's going down, and it's both of you, and the words fly, and there's anger, and there's language, and there's tearing down. I mean, you're gonna get all the way in there. I was with a couple this weekend, one of my private client couples, and the husband described that he grew up in an environment where he learned that the only way to have conflict is, as soon as someone comes for you, you pow, you get them, you attack them, you find every word you can to belittle them, to tear them down, and to remind them, don't you ever come for me again. Imagine if two of you are that way. Some of you can imagine that. You know what that's like, the intensity and Yeah, the 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 power of it. It's and then you make up. You don't resolve anything. You just make up. Like you just don't talk for a day, and then all of a sudden, or sometimes that same day, you're making love like you have lost your mind, and you just make up. And you're like, okay, well, we still love each other. That's ridiculous. That's the craziest thing I have ever seen and heard. We call those two people within that couple people who pursue each other. They come after each other. And let me tell you, well, I'll tell you at the end of the video why we do that. So that's one style that some couples have. It's two people who pursue each other and things get hot fast and you love each other and you want to be with each other and you got kids and you've got a family, but you've never learned how to calm the storm and you don't know what's going on between the two of you when that happens and your conflicts are stacking. There's another couple who one of them will pursue, come after you, want to just get to it. They want to resolve, we're going to deal with this. And you're not going to talk to me this way, or right. And then the other person, they shrink away. And it could be the man or the woman. Either one of them can shrink away. They just don't like conflict. They don't want to have it. That person withdraws or shrinks away, or they go away. They go find their hiding place. The person who is pursuing, they want to get to it. They can't stand not resolving it. They can't stand not dealing with it. And the one who is withdrawing, they get overwhelmed. It's just too much. I got a couple that I've been working with, and they have this style. He has to get things resolved. He has to talk about it. He has to get it out. And his wife is like, can you please leave me alone? She'll go to the bedroom. She'll go to the bathroom. She'll go anywhere to get away from this guy who he can't stop when there's conflict and it's overwhelming to her. What's going on between the two of them in this pursue withdrawal style of conflict as a way of relating to one another? Okay, let me give you one more because there's another pattern. There's some people who both of them just don't want to have any conflict. I mentioned that earlier. They don't want to have conflict. They don't want to talk about it. Listen. They just go away from each other. One goes and sits down and watches TV. The other one goes downstairs and starts, scrolling through social media or whatever. They and they keep it cool. Do you want some more dinner? How was your dinner? Fine, thank you. What about work tomorrow? They keep it cool, but they don't deal with anything. And they are falling away from one another. There's no real hot connection. This is the couple who eventually they end up in two bedrooms, two separate bedrooms. They don't sleep together, but they live together. They will stay together, perhaps even into their 70s and 80s, never resolving things. They're kind of like maybe some of your grandparents. You're like, why do they live in two different bedrooms? Why do they sleep in two bedrooms? Because they never resolved any conflicts. And they like each other, but they don't like each other, but they didn't want to end the marriage. Now, y'all know we got this phenomenon going on called silver divorce, where people are like, I'm not doing that. I'm not wasting the rest of my good years, my next 15, 20 years, living in a marriage where we just don't want to be together. So that's the withdraw style. Now, let's talk about what's happening with each of these. So I've shared with you that there's a pursue couple, that there is a pursue withdraw couple, and there is a withdraw couple. Three different ways of handling conflicts. They all, interestingly enough, have the same need. Hold on to that for a moment. They all got the same need. The person who's pursuing feels uncomfortable not resolving the conflict because they don't want there to be distance between them and the person they love. Part of this has to do with their attachment style and with their attachment needs or attachment wounds historically, right? To this idea of being left or not dealing with it makes them feel very anxious and alone and afraid that they're going to be left. I mentioned to you the couple friends, the couple that I'm working with, I should say, who he pursues and she withdraws. He pursues because he lost the lady of his life very early in his life. And so he knows that pain of loss, that pain of being distant. My wife and I used to kind of go through it that way. She would want to deal with things, she would want to talk it out. And I was sometimes in my shame for having done something stupid and selfish. I would just want to withdraw. I don't want to deal with it. I would walk out of the house and go get in my car and I ain't gonna talk to you about this. And I could let that go on for a day. So painful to someone who suffered the brutality of having been abandoned. So the person who pursues, they pursue because they really want connection. That's what's happening. They really want connection. They want to resolve it. Sometimes people just want to be right. I get that, but that's not necessarily what's going on. You got to understand there's something going on inside each of you when you're in conflict. I like to say to all of the couples that I work with, what you see happening on the outside usually begins on the inside, but so often we only focus on the outside. Is this making sense to you? Yeah, just shake your head. Yeah, you're right up my alley, Rod. You're right up my alley. Okay, so that person who is pursuing, they want some resolution because their anxiety is probably rising because they are struggling with not resolving this. Are you going to leave me? Do you love me? Do you want me? The person who's withdrawing is usually withdrawing because they either feel ashamed or they're overwhelmed, or because they are so confused that they don't know what to say or to do. And you can read that person the wrong way. You're such a coward. You don't want to deal with things. Mm, Maybe they learned early on that having conflict was a very dangerous thing. And that whenever they saw it happen, it was always horrendous and painful. And they learned to not ever have it. Maybe they don't have the language for how to have it. Maybe there's so much anxiety happening inside of them that they don't know what to do. Here's what I'm trying to get you to see, that in each of these couples, these three different styles, the people who pursue and those who withdraw, and whether it's two people who withdraw, there's something going on inside of them. And what they ultimately need is to feel like it's safe to have conflict with you. Are you a safe person to have conflict with? Maybe you are, but maybe they don't know how to feel safe. And maybe that's something you can help them with, help your partner with, help your spouse with. So I had to learn in my marriage not to walk out when the argument was happening, not to shut down, not to distance myself. I was so very immature when it came to conflict. And it would just do such damage to my wife, damage emotionally. And so I had to learn not to leave, not to walk away. I had to pay attention to what she was experiencing. So whether you are the type who pursues or you're the type who withdraws, just remember that something is happening on the inside of you. And if I were your coach, and I would love to be your coach, I'd love to coach you, I would help you get to the root of that. But the key thing is if both of you can realize that there's something going on inside of us. And there's a question, a great question that you can ask that will help you resolve conflicts. Now, let me give this caveat, because some of you are watching this video and you're like, don't nobody do this. Nobody does this. This stuff doesn't work. this guy's giving us, a bunch of relationship science. Let me tell you something. I've been working with couples for a long time. And when I teach them how to do this, how to see what's going on, how to understand why their spouse or partner has conflict the way they do, things change. So don't turn me off. Don't tune me out. This is going to help you. All right, here's a question that you want to ask. This will help you when you're not sure what's happening between us because you don't know what's happening inside of you or inside of your spouse or your partner. Here's the question, the big $1 million question you want to ask. It's not what's wrong with you. It is not why are you like that. It is not who does that. Come on, help me talk right here. Y'all know how we get. What is the matter with you? Why do you always like that? You're right. And after a while, we stop asking questions and we start making statements. But here's the question you want to ask. Can you please tell me what you need right now? Can you please tell me what you need right now? What do you need? And here's the core matter here. What do you need emotionally? Remember, I said that what everyone needs when they're in conflict is a sense of safety, that it's safe to have conflict. And everyone has a specific need. We'll talk about how we get to what your spouse's or partner's core need is. Everybody's got a specific need, and there's something happening inside them. And it happens not the same way all the time, but it happens almost all the time inside of them when conflict is happening. And so if you can slow down, chill out, be calm, you can actually bring the heat down, the anxiety down that's happening between the two of you, and you can get to what each other needs. And if you can get clarity about what the other person needs, if you can be clear about what you need emotionally. Hey, I need to feel heard. Hey, I need to feel like you value me. Hey, I need to feel like I'm a priority. Hey, I need to feel like I'm not your enemy and that you're not my enemy. That's what I really need right now. Hey, I just need a hug. Right? I just need for you to keep it calm here so that we can have this conversation. What is it that the other person needs? If you ask that question, hey, can you tell me what you need right now? And if you will attend to what the other person needs, if you can both do that with mutuality, you can begin to resolve the conflict and you can have a much healthier conversation. I hope that's helpful to you today because what's going on between you is actually happening inside of you, and it almost always happens inside of you the same way. If you could ask that one question, it'll change the game. Hey, I'm Rod Harrison. It was wonderful to be here with you. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, would you do so? I'd love to have you be a subscriber, and make sure that you click on the links below. We got some nice gifts for you, some things that will help you in your relationship life. So just click on the link below. The Happy Marriage Masterclass is one of those, and or the Happy Marriage Workshop, I should say. It's going to bless your life. It's in it. I teach you my 6-part framework for healing any damaged relationship. I'm going to take you from hopeless to happy, from frustrated to elated. So make sure that you get the workshop. Hey, I look forward to seeing you in the next video where we'll keep working on this conflict resolution idea. See you soon.